in this national conference on enhancing agricultural productivity, integration of improved seeds and agri imports. So, friends, we are beginning with this opening session, and to initiate with the nobility of lamp lighting, I would like to invite our distinguished dignitaries on the stage so that we can start with that nobility. With your round of applause, I would like to invite on stage Mr. R.K. Trivedi, Executive Director, National Seed Association of India. Please put your hands together for him. Mr. Raju Kapoor, Director, Public and Industry Affairs, FMC India Private Limited. Mr. Shakti Singh Shekhawat, Associate Director, Navya Edison LLP. Dr. O. S. Tyagi, Managing Committee Member, ASSOCHAM and Vice President, UPL. And Mr. D. S. Rajora, Assistant Secretary General, ASSOCHAM. So we have the dignitaries over here on the stage. With your round of applause, my dear friends, I request all of you to please do the nobility of lamp lighting first, and then we'll start with the formal inaugural session. So I request the dais to please extend your hands towards nobility of lamp lighting. Let us have a round of applause, my dear friends, for this opening of the National Conference on Enhancing Agricultural Productivity. We pray to that Almighty to enlighten our path and take us to the right direction. Shubham karoti kalyanam, arogyam dhan sampada, shatru buddhi vinashai, dvipam jyoti namostute. We bow towards this light. We bow towards the Almighty. Once again, let's hear it for this nobility, my dear friends. Let's have a round of applause. So, welcoming the dignitaries over here on the dais, now we would like to initiate with this opening session. Friends, whenever we say this term farmer, most of the times we use a prefix with that name, and that is poor farmer. We don't know why, but the poor is always used with the farmer. But we need to understand that the national conferences like this, what ASSOCHAM is doing today, this is actually going to change that term from poor farmer to a well-doing farmer. So I think ASSOCHAM deserves a round of applause for that, my dear friends. So to initiate, let me please invite the Assistant Secretary General, ASSOCHAM, Mr. D. S. Rajora, for the welcome address. Please welcome him with a round of claps.
Thank you so much. A very, very good morning to everyone. On behalf of ASSOCHAM, it is indeed a great pleasure for me to welcome the dignitaries on this session, the opening session. I have an immense pleasure in welcoming Mr. Oleg Demirek, Country Director, Head of South Asia Hub, International Fund for Agriculture Development, Mr. Raju Kapoor, Director, Public and Industry Affairs, FMC, India Private Limited, Mr. R.K. Trivedi, Executive Director, National Seeds Association of India, Mr. Shakti Singh Shekhawat, Associate Director, Navya Edison, our knowledge partner, and also Mr. Om S. Tyagi, Managing Committee Member of ASSOCHAM and Vice President, UPL. I also welcome all the participants who have gathered here. And as we know, today we have assembled here to discuss a very important topic of enhancing agriculture productivity through integration of improved agri inputs. So we all know that India is an agrarian economy, and agriculture is the during the critical times has not only ensured food security for all of us, but it is India being a second most populous nation. This is the agriculture who is feeding all of us, and it has provided stability in the urban economy even during the COVID times. So improved agriculture inputs are essential and are helpful to produce enough foods to feed the growing population, and these are required to expand the agriculture production. When it comes to the advantage of using improved agri inputs, it is all about efficiency. These inputs allow growers to maximize their crop yield on a specific piece of land. And agriculture inputs range from upgraded seeds, quality fertilizers, crop protection chemicals to machinery irrigation systems. Seeds are critical to successful crop production and the farm productivity and profitability. Similarly, fertilizers supply nutrients to the soil and are essential for growth. Plant protection chemicals like pesticides, insecticides, and fungicides control harmful insects and plant diseases that negatively affect crops. Moreover, technological integration and machinery can lessen human labor and increase farm productivity and effectiveness. So, for lucrative agriculture, quality, availability of inputs, accessibility, and affordability are very crucial. These would make a positive impact through inclusive agriculture and rural development in developing countries like India, where a majority of the farmers are small and marginal. So, agriculture and everything is going under several transformative changes now. The growing population, the changing lifestyle, expanding urbanization, and accelerated climate changes are creating new challenges for the agriculture systems. Where in the past challenge was to supply adequate food, but now it is to provide adequate nutrients to promote health, and in future the challenge would be to provide optimal nutrients based individuals' genetic profile. So we need different type of food for different type of individuals. That is the challenge coming, and for that we need improved agri imports. Key issues affecting the agriculture productivity include decreasing size of agricultural land holdings, continued dependence on the monsoon, inadequate access to irrigation, imbalanced use of soil nutrients resulting in loss of fertility of the soil, and uneven access to modern technology in different parts of the country, lack of access to formal agriculture credits, etc. So, to deliberate on these key issues of agri productivity, we are glad to have a galaxy of experts and intellectuals who would be sharing their views on this topic of national importance. We will be graced by the presence of our Honorable Agriculture Minister Sri Narendra Singh Tomar during the day, and I hope that the discussions at this conference will provide valuable insights to address the bottlenecks prevailing in the sector and ways to strengthen the agri value chain. With this, I welcome everyone once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Friends, whenever you want to understand the subject of any national conference, it's really important to set the context first. So, for the same, we have with us the Associate Director of Nagia Edison LLP, Mr. Shakti Singh Shekhawat. So, I would like to invite him on the podium with your round of claps. Please welcome him over here.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, members and team of ASSOCHAM, respected delegates, industry representatives, and participants. The idea of gathering individuals from over the country under one roof and having them converse with one another seems strangely traditional in today's time because times are faced with the new norm, social distancing, and an economic situation unlike anything we have ever seen before. There is an ancient proverb which goes, all the flowers of all the tomorrows are in the seeds of today. Conferences like this sow the seeds that hopefully will flower tomorrow. I thank ASSOCHAM for sensing this and giving us the opportunity to come up with the knowledge report and set the context for the conference. Crop production in the country is still dominated by cultivation of paddy in Kharif and wheat in Rabi seasons. These two crops cover about 38% of gross cropped area in the country. Compared to many other nations, the production per hectare, a popular indicator of agricultural productivity, is still low for many crops. India exhibits low yields in rice when compared to other countries like USA, which just has around 1% share in the global production, but productivity is more than double of India's. It may seem surprising, but India edges out the United States in yield per hectare of wheat. But within the nation, there are also significant regional variances. the future of majority of India's low-income population depends on agricultural prosperity. Low and incorrect input usage, limited access to contemporary technology, and a lack of significant technological breakthrough are a few causes of low productivity. A shift toward high-value commodities like fruits, vegetables, flowers, fisheries, animal husbandry, and poultry is required in order to increase productivity along mainly three dimensions: quality and prudent use of inputs like water, seeds, fertilizer, and pesticides, safe utilization of modern technology, including genetically modified crops, long-term research into the development of resilient seed types and other inputs, proper crop and input usage for a particular soil type, and efficient extension strategies. Second, the majority of farms are no longer economically viable, forcing farmers to abandon their land and seek better opportunities elsewhere. Field studies have shown that most of tenancy in the country is concealed and thus unofficial. The fact that has the implication that tenants are often not identified as actual cultivators in the records. Growing amounts of protected land are being left uncultivated as a result of land leasing laws that make it risky to lease property. Change in the laws governing land leasing could result in the operational consolidation of land holdings, better investment, improved finance availability, and tenant relief. Niti Aayog has already created a model, Land Leasing Act, that fixes the major problems in agricultural land leasing. The draft bill allows for leasing based on a contract and does not depend and deprive landlords of their land at the end of the lease. Third, disaster risk relief efforts are insufficient and plagued by delays and procedural inefficiencies. The fact that the current insurance schemes often only serve farmers with bank accounts is a serious issue. The poorest farmers are rarely protected by insurance since they cannot access the banking system in the first place. JAM Trinity, that is Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and Mobile, has received some focus in recent years. This issue needs to be resolved so that farmers who lose crops due to natural disasters receive at least some quick relief. Adopting the concept of diverse uses of water can boost ecosystems sustainably, increase financial benefits, and reduce vulnerability by allowing for more varied livelihood options. Through agricultural diversification and the inclusion of fish, poultry, and other businesses in the farming system, there is potential to increase income. The country's seed replacement rate is still low. Even now, a lot of farmers utilize regular grain as seed without making the distinction between the two. Recent statistics on breeder seed production showed a sharp decline, which is likely to affect the availability of certified seeds in the upcoming years. The market sale of fake seed is a key problem contributing to this issue further. It is necessary to supply and encourage the use of quality seed to increase productivity. Apart from the unsatisfactory distribution of various nutrients, India uses substantially less fertilizer per hectare than the majority of other nations in the globe. It's a widely held idea that Indian farmers use excessive amounts of urea. This is too simplistic a view and needs further dwelling. Regardless of the ratios, the optimal fertilizer use depends on the kind of soil, production potential, crop and water availability. Soil health card, neem-coated urea, direct benefit transfer, etc. have truly empowered the sector financially and resourcefully. Depending on the sources of estimates, crop yield losses in India caused by pests, which include all biotic stresses, range from 15 to 25%. In terms of quantity, pest-related losses are so significant that India could easily meet its domestic demands for the current year if these losses alone could be addressed. On one hand, there is the issue of low pesticide use in India, which is much lower than in other countries, and on the other is the misuse or use of fake pesticides, which are leading to high residues. We must enhance the advisory services if we are to achieve better results with regard to pesticides. Farmers primarily rely on the advice of dealers who frequently recommend promoting their own interests that may be at odds with those of the farmers. FPOs present a unique way to bridge this information gap between farmer and pesticide industry. Genetically modified crops, modern machinery such as laser land levelers, self-propelled sprayers, precision seeders and planters, coupled with precision farming and high-tech cultivation, are likely to play an increasingly important role in addressing many of the current problems in agriculture. What is needed is a consultation process with scientists, farmers, industry leaders, and journalists to offer arguments against or in favor of the technologies. Scientific associations and regulatory bodies to conclude based on independent economic assessment studies to block or back a particular technology, and researchers to publish critiques in the best scientific publications that undergo rigorous peer review to demonstrate benefits or losses, doesn't matter, but deliberate we all must. I hope this conference proves to be that platform for deliberation. I once again congratulate SOCHM and I wish you all a great success for the conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Friends, when Honorable Prime Minister of India says that we all need to align on one vision of self-reliant India, at that time we need to understand that a self-reliant India will bring the quality of life for everyone. And that's a right of a bureaucrat, that's a right of a corporate, that's a right of a professional, and also the quality of life is a right of a farmer as well. But when we want to strengthen that livelihood of a farmer, then actually we need to work towards enhancing the productivity of the agricultural outcomes. So my dear friends, as we all can see that we are joined by Dr. Oleg Demiran, Country Director and Head of South Asia Hub International Fund for Agricultural Development. He is here with us virtually. So sir, we welcome you here. But I guess we missed you in the nobility of lamp lighting because you were there virtually. But yes, I can see that you can feel the nobility over there. So you need to unmute yourself, sir. So we are not able to hear your audio. So just unmute yourself, sir. So technology does brings us together, but sometimes we really need to work towards it so that we can be in front of each other in like more appropriate ways. So I think there is some technological thing that's going on over there. So Dr. Demiran is going to take care of it. And in his address, we are actually going to understand that how we can enhance the agricultural productivity that can strengthen the farmer's livelihood. And sir is here. So still we are not able to hear the audio.
Very sorry.
Yeah, got that, sir. Got that, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, and it's so good to hear your voice. Welcome to this national conference, sir.
I'm really, really delighted and very grateful and honored to be here to address you all of this really important conference on enhancing agricultural productivity through integration of improved seeds and agri-inputs. Well, the history of agriculture in India is a history of successful modernization. I think when me as an outsider, I came to India, I would like to work in a country that I know over the last 50 years has gone from a deficit country to really a food surplus country. And this is really due to the, we all know the history of the Green Revolution and the adoption of modern technologies, including improved seed, fertilizer, and all of that. And as my previous speaker already said, it's quite remarkable that this has carried India, the Indian economy, through COVID without much of a challenge for its food security, as well as the current crisis in the Ukraine, which affects most part of the world that are very food insecure and very poorest. India is still a food surplus economy. But obviously, we also have serious challenges to face. Somebody mentioned already climate change, very high energy consumption, and of course, along with it, greenhouse gas emissions, environmental issues, pollution from inadequate use of inputs, soil erosion, and of course, the overall exploitation of water resources in large parts of the country. IFAD's mandate, really IFAD's specific mandate and target group are the small-scale farmers, the most vulnerable, and they often have very limited access to markets, to finance, and to modernized technologies. Paradoxically, these producers are the most vulnerable to going hungry, and at the same time, I think there are great opportunities in a very fast-growing market demand for more food, for higher quality, from a fast urbanizing country, a country that is slated in 2027 to become the biggest economy in the world, and of course, with its rising incomes as well, the demand for foods becomes more sophisticated and more differentiated. So we have an opportunity, but we really need to help the farmers to be able to leverage the right technologies to become competitive in these markets so that they can improve their own resilience and prosper while really contributing to the growth of the agricultural sector as a whole. This has to start with the markets, I think. Creating a level playing field and a space in which different value chain actors can effectively collaborate and efficiently compete, because competition brings about a lot of innovation. I think it is effectively the strongest, development factor, if you want so, because it pushes the actors in the system to innovate, to adopt innovation. But we have to also, of course, invest in farmers, and my previous speaker already mentioned the farmers' organizations, the FPOs, because they have to give a critical mass for farmers to engage and compete in these markets. Only if they have access to the market, then they can access finance and invest in technologies that allows them to achieve the productivity that makes them competitive to reach the farmers. So it's a chicken and egg situation, and we have to really take it there. It's not possible to just one way push better inputs on the farmers when they don't have a market. The risk will just not be bearable for them, and they will refuse to adopt it. We in IFAD have learned that it is key to help farmers' organizations to make good decisions. We have to really focus on strengthening their knowledge and their linkage with the markets, and then help them to really use financial analysis and microeconomic decision making to optimize their own productivity and obviously to manage their risks. We have also learned that all this has to happen in a very client-focused way. So I believe that there's still scope to reset our relationship to many of the farmers, who we sometimes consider, as you said in the beginning, as poor farmers or as producers of the food that we consume as a nation. And this comes with a very production-focused, supply-driven mindset very often, also extension agents, rather than one that we help farmers and we treat them really as our clients. And we create a business culture around it in which businesses are competing for their business. So I think we have to really focus on a much greater participation of the private sector, also in the agricultural value chains. And that's not only on the supply side of inputs, but also on the marketing side of output, because this will bring ultimately much more investment into the sector and much growth that can be shared between the different value chains. So I think for the uptake and use of farm inputs to be optimized, it is not enough to rely on market corrections through subsidies or market distortions. But we have to rather provide really space for the private sector to compete and help farmers build their capacity to optimize their choices. I therefore take this opportunity really to encourage ASOCHAM and its members to advocate for more space for the private investors in the agricultural sector, as this will need a lead of investment to accelerate growth, innovation, and inclusiveness in the agricultural sector. IFAD, of course, stands ready to engage along with the government to seize such opportunities and to invest in creating conditions in which farmers and partners in the rural economy can prosper and transform the Indian food system to provide in a very inclusive and sustainable manner better nutrition, prosperity and better incomes, greater resilience, and better livelihoods for the people of India. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really wonderful to hear the wisdom words from you. Thanks a lot for joining us. And now we are moving to our next speaker. Friends, when we need to actually understand this, that when we talk about a battle, be it the field of battle or on the grounds, or be it the field of crops for the farmers, tools play a very important part. So now the gentleman who is going to come over here on the podium, he is going to tell us that how agrochemicals can act as a key tool for supporting farming production. My dear friends, we have with us Mr. Raju Kapoor, Director Public and Industry Affairs, FMC India Private Limited. So I would like to welcome him over here on the podium. Please put your hands together for him. And I'll request my speakers to please stick to the address up to the 5 minutes only, so that we can just finish up on the time. Thank you so much, sir. Let's have a round of applause for him.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, my friends on the dais, the Agriculture Commissioner, Government of India. Sir, thank you so much. It's a very exciting time to talk about food and talk about agriculture. We always had thought that agriculture was all about feeding the poor by the poor. So agriculture was a subsistence farming all these years, and a significant transformation has happened, and the next level transformation has just happened with a very aspirational Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, who has very categorically come out with his 5 sutras, and one of the sutra happens to be to become a developed country. With a country like India, with almost 42 to 43% population depending directly or indirectly on agriculture, I think unless the agriculture significantly improves its own performance, half of the population of the country cannot hope to grow, which is a very clear imperative that agriculture must grow. So what is agriculture? Clearly, I mean, we're talking about large number of farms, very large number of farmers, almost 80% number of farmers cultivating very small land holding, producing at a level which obviously is not keeping them sustainable, and that's where a major crisis for the nation is. With this context, I think the other context that become very relevant in my discussion here is one about need to produce more with less, because the population is expected to, now it's already 1.4, right? We don't talk about this million number. हम वो 125 करोड़ भारतीय बोलते हैं, but अभी now we already are 141.53, I think something like that. Okay, so we're going to be touching 150 soon enough. Now with that context and the need for the population to be healthy, we need not only food, but we need nutrition as well. Now, this is one context which forces us to look at how do you produce more, how do you become more productive. The other context in this game is the context of sustainability, the environmental sustainability, where the resources have suddenly shrunk significantly to a level where they have become, where our lands have become scorched. Almost 52% of the India's land is today scorched for water. 90% of the water resources are being used in agriculture for irrigation. The irrigation's efficiency is significantly poor. No, so the story clearly, when you talk about productivity enhancement, is aimed at how do you increase the productivity in a manner which is sustainable, where the environment is respected. Uh, I just brought in some pointers for myself. So clearly, I think when we talk about productivity, we are talking about three things. One thing we are talking about is utilizing the genetic potential of whatever seeding material that we are using or a planting material we are using. Today, I think we will have my colleague from the seed industry, Dr. Saab, will also talk about the seed genetic potential utilization, but that's a big issue. Today, while we have great varieties, we have great hybrids, but the genetic conversion is low. Second challenge really is enhancing the input use efficiency. I think we are at a very precarious situation where if you look at products like urea and all, the use efficiency is sitting at something like less than 30%. Look at irrigation, less than 30%. Look at finance, significantly low. So is true with all agricultural inputs. Now, how do you grow the agricultural input use efficiencies? And simultaneously, how do you reduce the losses? There's a significant loss of crop happening both at the production level and subsequently at the post-harvest level. At the, I mean, my Shakti talked about 50 to 25%, but I mean, the number, rough number, very rough number is actually about we lose more than 2 lakh crores worth of crops every year to pests. And ironically, our own pesticide consumption is sitting only at about less than 400 grams per hectare, which is something like 10 to 20 times lower than the developed countries. Now, so what we are saying is that technology adoption has been significantly lagging in the country. And this has been lagging on three counts. One is the availability of technology, second is application of technology, second is stewardship around technology, the extension, adoption. So I think that's where clearly a role emerges for all of us when we're talking about it. When I talk about solutions, so let me just start with how would you get a higher productivity. One clearly is you've got to create economies of scale. The smallholder farmer will continue to become smaller and smaller and become redundant ultimately, unless the initiatives such as the FPOs or the corporatization or the collaboration of the integration of the land holdings is not addressed. Because that is what can bring technology that is adoptable and technology that can be leveraged. Second thing around technology clearly is availability of technology. I think one of the challenges that we are facing today is that while on the one hand we have low technology absorption, on the other hand side, from a supply side, the technology availability itself is becoming a big challenge. So adoption was a challenge for sure because of the financial issues with the farmer, their own feasibility. But on the supply side, is the technology available? So we, as everybody acknowledges, we have done some work. We've done a great job so far. We have brought out the country from a position of being on the brink of a food famine to position where we're talking about, like I told about the aspirational prime minister, we're talking about becoming the food bowl for the world. Now, in that area, and as we just heard, that our productivities are either half or about 40 to 50% lower than the global productivity. So, In this situation, I think what is very critical is to acknowledge and bring the technologies to the country fast. If it is developed in the country, perfectly all right. But if it is not, let's bring the technology to the country. And I was just thinking about a one-liner, what do I say? Because a lot of mixing happens today in the political noise that comes out and the technological noise that comes out, where people say, okay, so I'll take a case of biological pesticides. The import of those pesticides is not allowed because somebody in the minute says, the technology will be approved in the country only if it is produced in the country. Now that's is possibly one of the most ridiculous way to address technology. Technology and trade must be kept very separate. I'm sure, and I was thinking of that one-liner. So one-liner from my side today is, in the medium term, all technologies, whether indigenous or global, will become Indian. So I'll give you an example. Today, we have something like 290 molecules of pesticides available in the country. Almost 100% of them have been introduced, they were researched outside, they were innovated outside, and they have been introduced in the country. So why shy away from them today? The regulatory process needs to become a partner to progress rather than become an impediment of control. That was the era when we did not have a prime minister like this, who's not talking about feeding Indians and keeping them healthy. He's talking about feeding the world. So how are you going to feed the world without technology? So that's where I think the regulatory systems will have to partner the industry. We will have to scout in the technology wherever it is available, and at whatever cost it needs to be brought here. It needs to be brought back. And a great example of that just happened when, on two aspects. COVID, we came out with the vaccine, and second, we came out with drones. Drone is a story very close to my heart because this is one industry where everybody, including I myself, was thinking we will take about 5 to 7 years, but let's start working. Let's introduce drones. And believe you me, thanks to very progressive scientists like Dr. Saab here, Dr. Kassim, and his colleagues, we have been able to introduce drone technology in the country in less than a year's time. Less than a year's time. Now you can't believe, on the one hand side, there were drones dropping bombs in Pulwama or closer to JNK. On the other side, the government, so proactive, is introducing drones for agriculture. And today, that is going to make India on the world map. India is going to be the largest drone-driven agriculture moving forward. That's a prediction. Similarly, I think we're going to become, on a technology, biologicals is a big area. It coincides wonderfully well with the natural farming concept that the Prime Minister is talking about, organic farming, or IPM that we're talking about, or integrated crop management that we talked about. But let that technology come. You can't put a barrier and say, okay, the house is closed, but you may come out. Now that doesn't happen. Open the door, let the technology come in. The moment it enters your room, it is your technology. The air is filled with the Indian air will have the technology. So let's get that regulation going. That's my suggestion on that front. The partnership that I talked about. Next aspect on that is how do we work on the policy aspect. I just mentioned about one of the policy aspects. Similarly, I think on our agriculture, we must now produce for the market rather than market what we produce. Now that definition, that of course, I'm sure under your leadership, sir, we will look at that agriculture where we produce for the market rather than we produce and then wonder where do we sell as a farmer. So connecting consumers to this one, I'm sure a lot of work is happening around it. Let me not brag a lot around it. The other aspect which I wanted to cover very quickly, I think I can see a flag going up here, is application technology and stewardship. I think it's again a time where technology stewardship, which the technology innovators bring, must get transmitted to farmers on as-is basis. The filter of the government extension machinery that needs to either imbibe this technology or needs to move away and make way. Very clear, right? So I'm very sure the government is very clear, as I hear from many people, is that the access to technology for the farmer and the extension services are going to be more coordinated with the government, with the private sector. So make private sector a partner in this journey to make agriculture the biggest pillar on which India must rise. So with these few words, of course, there's a lot to talk about balanced fertilizers. So there are issues. I talked about technology, right? So when I talk about technology, I talk about environmental footprints. We have significant footprints of agriculture on the environment. We need to cut that down. We need to reduce that footprint down. Now, can that happen by, nano urea is one example. I just hope and pray to the gods every morning that it succeeds for sure, so that we are able to reduce at least that much pollution that goes into our soils and the air. But simultaneously, all the formulations need to be looked at. So, can we look at an incentivization system which encourages the technology, which supports the technology development, and which incentivizes the technology developers, जैसे कि जय विज्ञान और जय अनुसंधान बोला गया प्राइम मिनिस्टर द्वारा. So I think that जय अनुसंधान needs to get translated into action, and wherever the technology is, I think the farmer cannot wait. So the technology must come in India, and we must all be a part of the solution rather than part of a problem which blocks the technology all the time. With this, thank you so very much for giving me this time. I will be available here for any intervention. Thank you. Sorry, I took 3 minutes.
थैंक यू सो मच सर. तो मुझे लगता है इसका है ज़्यादा नेक्स्ट स्पीकर्स को थोड़ा सा वो करना पड़ेगा. So in another 10 minutes we seem to wind up this inaugural session, so I request our next speakers to please take care of it. And friends, since childhood we all have been hearing that as you sow, so shall you reap. So what you sow holds esteemed importance. So now I am going to invite the dignitary who is going to present the address on the importance of seeds as improved farming input. Please put your hands together for Executive Director, National Seed Association of India, Mr. Agri.
Good morning. Distinguished speakers on the dais, Shekhawatji, Mr. Adhikatuji, Brazuraji, Mr. Tyagiji, Brazuraji. In fact, first of all, I congratulate ASSOCHAM for organizing this national conference on enhancing agriculture productivity, integration of improved seed and agri inputs. In fact, this is a very important topic, agri inputs, and seed is a part of that agri inputs. And as you all know, she also said that the importance of seed is well recognized. And to restrict myself in 5 minutes to talk about the entire seed structure and seed sector would be difficult. So I will restrict myself to some of the important points which are very important for increasing the production and productivity of agriculture crops. So as all you know, that India has witnessed significant advances in agriculture during the last 5 decades, and this advances is mainly contributed to the seed sector. In fact, the expansion of seed sector occurred parallel to the growth of the agriculture sector. And today, our agriculture sector is really meeting the food demand of 1.4 billion population. And for that, definitely our farmers, we must compliment them. But at the same time, the seed industry which is behind for this, we should also congratulate them that they are also working hard for meeting the food demand or food gain demand of our country. And in fact, the seed industry's progress also took with the growth of the agriculture sector. With the advent of the green revolution, the seed industry came into the structure, and the government also supported for the growth of seed industry. In fact, in 60s, the National Seeds Corporation was established, and then the Seed Act to regulate the quality of seed, and then there was a seed control order especially for regulating the marketing and distribution of seed, and then the seed policy 88, which was very important for the growth of seed industry, because under the seed policy, the best planting material available anywhere in the world was allowed to import and required to be supplied to the farmer. So definitely, and then industrial policy, which allowed to have the entry of MRTP and foreign collaboration. So all the government policy measures supported the seed industry, and this helped the private seed industry also to grow well. And today, it is really boosting for us that presently the private sector and the public sector both are having an equal role. And in fact, I would like to say that in certain crops, especially in the hybrid sector, the private sector is doing much better than the public sector. Maybe because of that the public sector has their own requirements, and they have to generally do the seed production and distribution for the bulk crops. And the private sector is doing the seed business for both bulk crop as well as for high value crop like hybrids. So presently the Indian seed sector, we are having the fifth in terms of volume and the value in the global. We are fifth in number after US, China, France, and Brazil. And in fact, in terms of value, we are about 22,500 crores in terms of value, and out of that, 12,500 crores is for the open pollinated crops, and about 10,000 crores is the value of the hybrids. And in hybrid also, we see that the major share is 35% is from the cotton hybrid. So cotton has a major role in our private seed business. In fact, for that, the technology helped a lot. In fact, the growth of private sector is parallel with the advent and advancement in the agricultural technology. And definitely now, presently, we have the public sector seed corporations, NSC and state, but at the same time, we have more than 600 seed companies with the private sector. And out of that, a good number of companies having the good R&D activities. And through these R&D activities, they are involved and engaged in development of new varieties. In fact, the new tools of plant breeding, that is called the micro-assisted breeding, are our CRISPR case, our genomic research. All is doing by the both private sector and the public sector, and they are coming up with better varieties with precision. Now the plant breeding activities is doing in such a way that the varieties are being developed for a specific requirement, whether it is a quality requirement or it is required for any biotic species or some abiotic species. So much is advancement in the technology, and the private sector has adopted that technology, and they are investing also. So I just would like to mention that we have a broader Indian seed sector has a very good scope. We see the seed replacement rate, if we call it, we are meeting about 40 to 45%. So still 55% seed requirement is met to the unorganized sector. So and this unorganized sector is doing for the farmers to farmers exchange, or the small traders who are doing unbranded seed also. They are selling, and sometimes they are branding the seed, but not in an organized manner. So that is a big scope we have presently for the seed sector. And another one good advantage for the Indian agriculture as well as for the Indian seed sector is that we have a varied agroclimatic situation. So India can produce the seed throughout the season for different climatic requirement also. We have the temperate regions crops and seed production also, even for the tropical also. And in some crops we have 2 or 3 seasons, like in paddy. We have 3 seasons. So the seed production is a very comfortable and very conducive in India. And this is a great potential with us. The need is that we should tap out this potential and make the seed sector so strong, because as I said, there is a sky is the limit for the seed industry to grow. About, as I said, 22,500 crore is the organized. But more than this, maybe around 30,000 crore is the unorganized sector. That has to be captured by the organized seed sector. So the seed industry has a better scope to come out and do planning in such a way that they can meet the future varietal requirement of the farmers. Another is very important is that there are some challenges also. The biggest challenge is that the seed sector is very much dependent on the climatic conditions. It is also most of the cases the demand is also very unpredictable, particularly the seed sector, in vegetable sector. In vegetable sector, if suppose the seed is produced and if there is no demand, then the seed has to be destroyed because that will not be used next year. In case of a cereals, even if suppose seed market is not there, it can be consumed, but if it is not treated. But in the vegetable sector, there is a very much risk that the precision marketing is required before going for seed production. And another challenge is that definitely when the seed production is being done, it is done at a larger area. And in such a cases, there is a chances of spread of any epidemic or a disease or pest. In such a case, definitely one has to be very careful that such disease may not spread for a larger area. And another is the climate change distribution. This is very important. This climate change, we have to go for such a varieties which are resistant to or which are resilient to the climate change situation. Such cases also, those varieties have to be developed and seed production has to be taken for all those varieties. Another thing is that when we talk about the contribution of the seed sector in the economy, also agriculture seed sector has contributed very very much. In fact, the Indian seed sector growth is about 12%, which is much higher than the global growth of the seed sector is 5%. So definitely we are growing fast, and we are generating not only the employment because the seed sector is one of the good source for the employment generation. The seed production is required a special technique, and emasculation, or pollination, or isolation. So all these things require skilled as well as unskilled manpower. And if the seed industry grow, definitely it will generate good employment to our farming as well as educated and uneducated youth. The another good thing which is contributing is in the income of the farmer, because seed production is much more remunerative than the crop production. So definitely if farmers are going for a seed production, their earning will be more than double or triple. And in case of hybrid, it is much higher. In vegetables crops like in tomato, it is 60 per kilogram seed is 60,000 rupees, or sometimes it is more than that. So for such a case, it is a very highly paying if the seed production will be taken by the farmer. So this is also contributing. And another thing is the seed industry itself is enhancing the variability, because as much as variety you will grow, you will create more variability, and variability is very much required for prosperity, because the future plant breeding will depend on the genetic variation. So that genetic variation will be created by the seed industry. And I have a limitation of time, but I will just concentrate that the time has come when the industry has to see in a serious way that they not only meet the requirement of our farmers, but they should also see that the future economy of the country has to be progressed with the growth of the seed industry. And in the end, I would just like to say that sky is the limit. We should only do that. Most of the cases, because of some fear, investment, or some other things, the startups are not coming. I just say that let the young graduates, whether the agriculture is good, they should come out and do some startup activities in the seed sector, because this is an area where not only the agriculture growth of the country will enhance, but as well as the economy will also be improved. So I am now restricting because the time is a limit. But thank you very much, and I hope that we will have a better future in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And now, my dear friends, we are going to have the concluding remarks and the vote of thanks. And after that, we'll be quickly starting with our first session. So now I would like to invite the Managing Committee member, ASSOCHAM and Vice President UPL, Dr. Om S. Tyagi, for the concluding remarks. Please put your hands together for him.
Dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. Let me begin thanking D.S. Rajora for setting the scenario for the day, while he highlighted that there is a shift in the demand for food from the merely food to the nutritious food, which is a reality of the day to day. While the incomes are increasing, the demand of the people for the quality food is also going up, and that is a challenge also. One thing which came out repeatedly with most of the speakers, that resource use efficiency is an issue in agriculture. And Mr. Shakti Singh, while highlighting various schemes of the government, touching upon them, highlighted the challenges which are around the government schemes and how to overcome those challenges. Thank you so much for touching those very important points. Another important point which was highlighted by Mr. Oleg Demiraz, Country Director and Head of South Asia International Fund for Agriculture Development, is the use of technology, both sides, accessing the markets as well as increasing the resource use efficiency at the farm gate level. And how do we leverage the international experiences in increasing the productivity of the Indian farms. Mr. Raju Kapoor highlighted very important point that how to grow more with using less. We are having limited land, but how to leverage on the inputs so that we can produce more. Thank you so much, Raju, for highlighting those very important points. Mr. R.K. Trivedi highlighted a very important point that sky is the limit. The agriculture has a lot more to do in terms of regulations as well as in terms of partnering with the private sector to bring the more productivity, more resource use efficiency into the agriculture. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank all the participants and the media for joining us today, and we conclude this session here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. So, concluding this opening session, I would like to thank all the dignitaries over here on the dais. And of course, the dignitary who is joining us virtually, Dr. Demirang, I thank you also for joining us in this session. So, let us have a round of applause. That will be a round of applause of the gratitude from our side to them. Thank you so much. And now